Hello, I'm Sora Luxon, and this is Tarot Card the Fool, sometimes referred to as the card of angelic folly. So, first off, this is the first trump of the deck. It's the first of the greater arcana. It's card zero, that perfect circle. So, it's important to take the time to note that the tarot, on one level, can be read almost like a flip book of knowledge of a spiraling path. There is a larger story to the esoteric knowledge of the tarot, which is handed down mouth to ear through the centuries as each new generation of users takes a firm grasp of it and seeks to discover and explore its many layers of symbolic interpretation and hidden meaning. Part of the broader tale being told, being portrayed for the intuitive honing of the user, is the tale of the soul's journey, right? So the Fool, where we start at card zero, where we begin, it can be the first and foremost interpretation as where we joyously and haphazardly begin our labor of the craft, of the great art, toward this destination of becoming the magician in full awareness and use of our many tools and talents. So there is that level to a tarot card deck. Also, this is a trump card, and as I keep noting, trump cards trump all the other cards in the reading. Trump cards are not humankind or human powers, right? A trump card is a higher plane, it's a higher power, so bear that in mind. Also, because this is card zero, I feel like I need to take the time to mention what most tarot card readers who simply memorize tarot readings and meanings, possibly from a secondary source, right, from a book or a description, and aren't authentically practicing occultists, right? They'll fail to mention because they simply do not know, right? Or sometimes they'll treat as unnecessary this information because they haven't yet actually gained access to the energies, right? The cards really do give access to a certain type of energy. So someone who hasn't gained that access might not think it's real or necessary and is probably just going to give you a secondary source interpretation or reading, which is fine, but they're not going to tell you that the cards are a hidden series of avenues describing path working on the Kabbalic tree of life to the genuine seeker of the great art. That is what the tarot does. They're also a wonderfully simple method of discreet communication, capable of complex and complicated conversation, right? If you want or need to speak to someone who has also been trained in their language, that's possible. The cards allow for the silent passing of encoded, detailed messages quickly, right in front of a room of people, a crowded room that are only going to see it as a game, right? The tarot has been used in royal courts throughout history for that purpose by those who have been initiated into their many uses. Perhaps more than anything else, the tarot is an incredible, invaluable, internal, and introspective meditative tool, purely for personal use, without ever engaging or using a tarot deck with someone else, or even asking a tarot deck any specific question. The tarot has a use within the craft. It's a tool within the great art that is entirely introspective and very, very powerful, right? So without any two-person reading ever being done, and I need to just at least allude to that fact if you don't know it, readings on others are possible and powerful, and a reading on yourself is possible and powerful, right? And definitely when you engage any two people, any two minds coming together around a question and then reflecting willfully in harmony together jointly on that query by use of an agreed upon exterior symbolic visual portal, right? Those minds are then going to be able to successfully access a realm of interpretive, insightful meaning that they wouldn't have otherwise had direct access to. That's psychological truism. But the tarot was not specifically designed for that. It does work for that, and its design works for that. But this tool's energy and intent is far older and far more powerful than most know or use it for, or bother to even mention accurately. They weren't the tarot, right? They weren't, for instance, always cards. And even now, they have sacred layers of meanings that are only interpretable to the highest of magi that have been tutored in their truest and most sacred uses. There are meanings accorded to their visual symbols that you will never find explained in any book or any online tutorial or spoken of by any other initiate, because they have to be found somewhere else. And that's really all I can say about that aspect of the cards. Even so, they contain a constant and limitless wealth of wisdom for each and every brand new occultist who approaches them with the respect they are due, right? You don't even need to know what you're doing when you begin with the tarot, and they are going to begin revealing things to you. And also, as I was saying before, even someone who doesn't take the time to acknowledge or note any of what I've just said is going to be able to give a useful reading to another person if two people come together around a question and use this deck, and then use explained meanings that are agreed upon jointly. They're going to be able to give a reading as well without any of this other information or access to any of this other power. So regardless, I just wanted to take a moment on card 0 as we start the deck together, as we start the journey together, right? To say that the hermetic use of the tarot, right? For instance, that occultic use, that tradition, far outstrips any casual explanation or meaning to answer someone's short-term questions, right? And yes, a single human life is a comparatively short term in the bigger picture of things. Okay, now that I've met my responsibility and cryptically mentioned the forest, right, that you can choose to notice for yourself if you wanted to pick your head up, let's look closer at this specific tree. So there he is, right? Here's this guy just airily, one might even say etherically, strolling along, completely oblivious to the natural forces which are trying to either warn or attack him. He travels alone, right? And notice the flowers and the colors they have. We have a white rose of pure innocence and yellow flowers of joy and silence, right? So his silence as he pursues his own path frees him from the constraints and limitations he has recently chosen to leave behind. Obviously, this journey forward without any cares or necessary responsibility to anyone but himself is bringing him a lot of happiness, right? He's so blissfully happy, right? It's bringing him great joy. And somehow that naivete can even allow him to be so carefree that all the bigger information in this scene, right? It isn't that it's lost on him, it's that it's kept in balance, right? It's kept in check by his refusal to need to know it's there. This youthful, bright sense of seasonal spring is also very clear in this card, of newness. We have a flawless innocence here, right? That's managing to find an equilibrium with the world's often less than pleasant wisdoms. Because you see in this moment, right, as we're looking at this card, some people misinterpret this card on first glance as a foolhardy or harm card. But if you look at the card within this specific snapshot of time, the dog isn't harming him. Not yet anyway, right? And the fall from the cliff isn't happening. Not yet. If that were the message, if this were a tribulation card, we'd be looking at a teenager in their Saturday fun clothes bouncing down the side of a cliff, bleeding with broken bones maybe, or with the dog tearing them apart already. Or perhaps still atop the crest of the hill, howling mournfully as the human, the companion, or this traveler has already met his demise and would be at the bottom of the cliff unmoving. Neither is being shown here. The fool is happy, blissfully, ecstatically so. Therefore, This isn't the story of demise, right? Not yet, anyway. But instead, this is the dawn of playfulness that isn't being forced to kneel to the authority of worldly concerns and conditions. This is the start, a beginning. A deep trust of the self is shown here, carrying only what you need as you bound forward excitedly. Fear and uncertainty goes unnoticed, right? It's in thrall to exuberant joyfulness. This could be representing an individual of great creativity or trust, the start of a wonderful new path or journey. You have here completely unconventional levels of optimism, right? Friendliness and trust to the point of blind faith and a passionate eagerness is being portrayed. So what should you do if you pull the Fool in your own queried reading? Step forward. Trust yourself. Leave behind whatever you don't need. This is the start of something new and great, and you need to take it on faith. People around you might think you're being ridiculous or foolhardy. They might think you even look insane. But don't worry about them. Trust yourself and walk forward, even if all signs point to the contrary. I tend to think of Indiana Jones, right, on first glance with this card. There's a movie where he has to take a leap of faith. He has to step off of a cliff. But when he takes that step, right, when he takes that leap of faith, there's an invisible beam there that he ends up walking this invisible path, right? To me, that is very much on first glance the Fool card. Have more faith in things. Be less discriminating. Stop isolating yourself, right? It's possible that you're being too rigid about something. You're putting too many conditions or limitations on things. You have opportunities to take good risks that will reward you with new insights and experiences. So take them. The Fool reversed. Usually, if you pull the Fool reversed, it's going to represent someone who's behaving inconsiderately or carelessly. Someone who's being reckless or thoughtless if it's an emotional type reading. This could be indicating flakiness, making bad bets, right? Even to the point of gambling. It could be someone making dangerously risky calls, making the wrong call, right? Taking the wrong risk. Irresponsibly not tending to necessary obligations. Perhaps a situation where someone is being forced to do what they're told rather than to take the risk or leap of faith to do the thing they know is right. Sometimes that could be interpreted here. The thing they actually should do, the right thing, is being ignored to do what's expected. Sometimes this can represent an individual who is being fake or inauthentic in some way, who isn't being true to themselves, but instead is towing the party line or is faking a sense of joy that isn't genuine. So what to do? If you pull the Fool reversed, this is advising you to be responsible. Be the mature one in the room. This isn't a good time to take that big carefree jump or make that blind leap forward, right? Today, you're not going to be Indiana Jones. Today, you're going to stay on the edge of the cliff and not step off of it. Don't act ridiculously or thoughtlessly or foolishly. Be mindful. Be the adult. Be aware of your obligations and responsibilities. Be thoughtful in your approach. Pay attention to the warnings you're giving yourself or being given by your environment or by the others around you, and take heed of them. Address those things before moving forward. Find out what that fearful or angry little dog, right? Find out what that dog is barking about and sort that out first. Dedicate yourself to what is being expected of you. The individual represented here is being advised to stop being inconsiderate of others. So if it's you, be mindful and considerate. Until next time.